to just jump right into it? Okay. Oops. Did that work? Yeah, it did. So, give me that link. Post that. And while I'm doing that, Ace, let's double check your audio. I'm pretty sure you've been sounding like quality audio throughout the time we were talking.
Check, check, check. How do I sound? Is this good?
Yeah, that's clear. Ghost, how do you sound?
Check, check, check.
That actually doesn't seem like as good as it should be, but maybe that's just a distance thing and a volume thing. And then how about myself? Do I sound clear and a good volume level?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Then without further ado, everybody look alive, just like Blockboy said. Nice. Okay, now it's posted. Okay. So then I'll also hit the record button where everything you say now can and will be used against you. Put this away. Actually, we're still starting soon. If I come over here, live and recording. Welcome back, guys, and welcome back, everyone, to the B1 and B Phil podcast. We're back. We're back. We got the gang. We got the guys, the bros. We got Ace.
What's up?
We got Ghost.
Yo.
And we got myself, Questlando. Guys, how we all feeling? How we all doing?
Pretty good.
Decent. Y'all already know.
Very much so. We already know the line. And I'm doing pretty well myself. Man. At time of recording, we're pretty much in the swing of November, the colder seasons. And, not to sound like anybody's mom or parents or whatever, but, I just hope that everybody's, doing well out there. Taking your supplements, taking your warm beverages, staying warm, staying safe, and staying out the way, really. This is the time of year where, the wolves come out. And I'm not talking about timber wolves or the wolves you find in forests. But I am glad that we're here tonight and we're here about to do this podcast thing. And as far as the podcast, as you know, or maybe you don't know, every week we do a song selections of the week where we curate a playlist or a list of songs that we enjoy, that we found and we enjoyed, and we hope that you'll enjoy too. So if you're interested in finding new music or discovering new artists, you can check out the description and there'll be a Spotify playlist below. And then after the podcast, we also just make a list of that. So you can also go check back and see just a list of that in the description below. Also in the description, you can find our socials. If you ever want to know more about us for some reason, you can check out our socials, especially myself. You can find me at Questlando. That's on Twitter /X and in IG. But yeah, I don't think there's really too much aside from that. So, before we start to get into things, does anybody have any content recommendations, any content that they found throughout the week that they stumbled upon that they want to come and share?
Yep. I got a couple.
Let's hear it.
So my first one Ghost told me to watch Across the Spider Verse basically like a year ago, earlier this year, and I've kind of dragged my feet to get into it. But I finally got to it last night, and it was great. Yeah, it was great. Like the plot, the animation, of course, was like some of the best I've ever seen. It's just a really fun movie. Uh, I will say that I don't know why, and I'm probably like the only person on the planet, but for some reason, I was not expecting there to be a third movie in this series. So I was a little bit disappointed when a lot of the stuff that I expected to happen at the end of the movie didn't happen, and it kind of got set up for the third. But other than that, like there was absolutely like no disappointment. It just it delivered exactly what I expected. So I do highly recommend watching it.
Fair enough. It definitely seems like there's a recurring theme of somebody on this podcast who discovers something after it's been out for a week, damn near years, and comes in and reports on it. But it's fine.
Yep,
That's your MO at this point.
definitely. And then my other one is a book. It's The Girl Who Played with Fire. It's the second book or a sequel to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Hmm.
Um, so that first story was basically a mystery at its core. It was like it was a slow burn. It took a long time to kind of play out and develop, but at the same time, it was a very captivating read. And I thought this second book was gonna be like very similar in that way, like another slow burn with a mystery at its center. And it did have a mystery, but it was much more like maybe not action thriller, but it was definitely more of a thriller than the first book. And yeah, once it gets started, it's just it doesn't let up. Like it just keeps on driving towards the conclusion. Had a lot of like larger than life characters. The plot was still very captivating. Um, and yeah, I could not stop listening until I listened to it as an audiobook, and I couldn't
Hmm.
stop listening like until the end. I basically ripped through it. Um, so yeah, that's another high recommendation, especially if you're familiar with the girl with the dragon tattoo. Um, I definitely think it's worth a read.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think people are familiar with that title. I mean, that title definitely rings bells. And you know something that's interesting, as someone who's not an avid reader, or a reader period, I'm always interested, or I'm interested in the way somebody could convey a book and that would make it interesting to people. Um, I think, again, you know, not as in the book world, but I think the way you described that book and describe things in general, I think that would pull somebody in that maybe has heard of it or is looking for a new book. So, sorry, that's just a tangent on my mind, though.
Yeah, perhaps. I will also really quickly say that if you haven't gotten into the series, I recommend like and you're not a reader, the movie The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, directed by David Fincher, is also great. Like that's a great watch though.
There you go. I like that too. Throwing some alternatives. Fair enough. Fair enough. And then as for me, it's not usually in my, well, I feel as if it's not in my wheelhouse typically, but in case you missed it, No Name did a new Tiny Desk appearance concert, and I did peep it. Came across my timeline, and I peeped it, and yeah, No Name just continues to be one of the dopest female rappers, musicians, to be honest, that we've pretty much ever seen. And we're gonna talk about some legendary female artists later. But yeah, salute to No Name. I think Shmino was also not. I think he was also part of it too, which was super dope. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like if you're already artsy, like everyone's pretty much in the know when these tiny desk drop and how like they're almost like all like a hit no matter who the artist is. But yeah, again, so it's no name. You already know how I feel about her.
I actually got a couple quick recommendations.
Shoot.
First one, I finally saw new movie Killers of the Flower Moon. Meant to see it weeks ago, just never
Oh
got around to
wow.
it. Yeah, that was it was supposed to be Scorsese's last movie, but I guess it's actually not. Um, yeah, I recommend that everyone watch it. It's a difficult movie to say that I liked or enjoyed. It was a good movie, but if you watch it and you know what it's about, you'll know where I'm coming from.
Mm, yeah, that
A
makes
lot
sense.
of despicable things and evil.
Yep.
Like, I won't say anything about the plot. Just one quick thing in that in this, the feds are actually the good guys, which should tell you everything you need to know about everyone else. So yeah, um, I do recommend
Gotcha.
that everyone goes to watch that one.
Gotcha. What's the title one more time?
Killers of the Flower Moon. And the second recommendation is something that I usually never recommend. Two things actually. It's a kind of a documentary, kind of a podcast YouTube
Wow.
video. Yeah. So again, not something I ever thought I'd be recommending, but I don't know if y'all heard of Secret Base. They're part of SB Nation, like a sports organization. They put out content and they have this whole series on beef. Mostly it's like hip hop or sports related.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty compelling. I've watched a few of the videos. In this particular series was a three-parter, kind of like a mini series. Each one's about a half hour, but it's about the Kobe and Shaq beef in the early 2000s. If you're not into basketball, then I guess I wouldn't really recommend it. But if you are, and specifically if you're a Lakers fan or a Kobe fan, Shaq fan, interested in that era, it's definitely very intriguing because a lot of the stuff people knew about, and it's one of the most famous time periods of the NBA, and those are two of the biggest characters, and a lot of stuff in there, how it went down, and some of the back and forth and little known facts regarding that situation. But I recommend checking that out. It's pretty dope.
Got you. I
I don't
also
think I said the name, but it was I actually forgot. Hold on.
didn't you say secret base or was that just the?
Yeah, they have like a um huh. I thought they had actually. They have individual titles for each episode, so I guess it's just Shaq versus Kobe. I thought it was more in depth than that, but
Oh, I got you. You mean the specific episode that you
yeah,
checked
Secret
out?
Base is the brand that made the video.
You mean the channel, the
Channel
brand?
brand.
Okay, Grandpa, settle down. um, nice. Like I said, I always like when we can shout out other content creators slash YouTube channels. Um, Hope that there's a million dope ones out there. And yeah, to be honest, yeah, even the way you described it, I think some of that content, even if you're not like specifically intimately interested in sports, I think some of that content just goes regardless. So that's dope. That's dope. Nice. So yeah, if you're ever interested, and also just looking at finding a new dope book or series, movies, content, just even a video, we're also a nice destination where you can come and get hip to something new. Nice. Um, and there's no other recommendations before we get into things. I actually had a uh poll question of the week that I want to run by y'all. Let me pull it up just so I got the verbatim. And I'm actually curious to know what y'all sentiment is on this. So the question was, and I think I'll save the results till after you guys respond. But anyway, what do y'all think is more thoughtful? If someone takes the time to cook for you, uh, but and there's a but the food is mediocre, or if someone takes you out to eat, or brings you food. And yes, that's assuming that the food is very good. What do you think, Ace?
Wait,
Again,
what was the question?
I'm
What
about
was
to
it?
repeat. I'm about to repeat it. Don't worry, I got you. What would you say is more thoughtful?
Oh,
If someone takes the time to cook for you, but the food is mediocre, or if someone takes you out or brings you food, and obviously the food, assuming that the food is really good.
dang. I think it's when they take the time to cook, but that's not to say that the person who brings you the food or takes you out isn't being thoughtful. It's just almost purely because of how much they like how much versus bringing them somewhere or buying something for them.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely not like which one is the only thoughtful one. It's just simply what would you consider more thoughtful if somebody did that for you. What about you, Ghost? What would you say is more thoughtful?
Well, I think it's pretty easy to say what's more thoughtful, and that's the person that makes the food. However, as far as what I would appreciate more, I think I would appreciate the end product. If the food is better, that's what I'm gonna like more. So if we go out to eat or they bring me food from a spot and it's good, like it's not as thoughtful, but I would I would enjoy it more than if it was good versus if it was trash and they made it. I wouldn't
Yeah,
tell them it was trash, but
interesting. One, you wouldn't say that what you appreciate more is tied to the thoughtfulness of it.
no, I mean it's kind of like a sentimental thing. Like if my end goal is to say, oh, like just if I'm just thinking about the person, and it's like, oh, did they take the time to do this and blah blah blah? Was it? Yeah, I mean, sure, but that's not really what I care about at the end of the day. What I care about at the end of the day is the food good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Fair enough. And I was gonna say, I specifically wanted to indicate like the food is mediocre. Like it's not trash. It's not like they're serving you like hot garbage on a plate, but it isn't as flavorful or tasty or whatever the case may be. But I will say, while you say it's easy, according to the numbers I have, more people did in fact say no. Yeah, number one, if someone cooks for you or take the time to cook for you, that would be more thoughtful. But a pretty good amount of people all did vote for it if someone takes you out or brings you food.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Also, I think it does kind of matter what they're making. Like if they're putting some chicken nuggets in the microwave and making some box mac and cheese, it's a little different than if they're taking you to a Michelin star restaurant or someone that you said, "Oh, I want to go there for years. I just never get the chance." But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there's qualifying factors, but just at a base level, I think it's for me pretty easily if someone makes me food, be more thoughtful.
Got you. Yeah, like you said, if you add some like additional context to it, depending on what they made, that could definitely impact it. But yeah, at a base level, I think most people would agree. Which, I guess, if you want to take any moral stories away from that, it's just food. Apparently, that will most likely most times hit harder than if you just buy somebody something from a restaurant or whatever the case may be. But thanks. I'm always interested to hear y'all input on some of these questions. And if y'all ever just randomly stumble on a question that you would like to know what other people think about, let me know. Both you guys and any and all listeners. And also, if you guys, again, you guys and or the listeners ever bump into any topics that you think will be worth us talking about or going over, please let us know. We're always interested in getting feedback and or suggestions and ideas and things of that nature.
Does thought daughter or gay son count?
What the Gani Ma? Holy moly! I'm gonna just pretend I didn't hear that.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
You literally can't scroll the timeline at all without seeing that damn question. It's crazy how it's so prevalent.
The crazy part is you're not wrong. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, so you already checked to see if the thing is rolling finance. Make sure you continually check that throughout if possible.
Yep.
But without further ado, I'm trying to think. I always feel if I'm forgetting something, but it's fine. If it comes up, it comes up. Without further ado, let's jump right into the topics. So let me do this. Just a few good men. Even though I do like this random stock photo of a bunch of random guys, I might need to update it. And then let me go here, blow this up. Oh, I think it might have changed order. Shite. What if I do it again? Oh, I did. Oh, I might have to change the names around. I'll do that once. If you know us, you know that. Then you know our voices, surely by this point. Anyway, this is not a whole thing. This is just a follow up to something we talked about last week. Obviously, when we talk about topics, our point is never to just give you the news. We're not for that. If you want news, there's a million and one outlets that just will tell you what happened in the culture or in whatever respective about some of these things. But because some of these topics sometimes do have a level of intrigue and discussion to them, sometimes it's worth going back just to see what the step in the story, whatever the case may be. And I think we used to do this more often. I think I was thinking back to stories that we might have continually followed. I think one of the examples was the Tory and Meg incident, but we obviously know how that ended. So this is not really anything. The point of the matter. This is not really anything to deep dive into. I just wanted to bring this up because this was after we talked about it, and also, there were some people that were questioning the validity if that Joe Smith and his wife OnlyFans thing was even real, and if he was in on it, and how did he really feel, and things of that nature. And if you're a conspiracy theory, even this might not sway your opinion one way or another. But let's hear what the brother had to say in general about how he felt about the matter. Go ahead and scroll that over and play that, Ace.
Ed, when they saw this, was, oh, this is a skit or a publicity stunt in order to get our OnlyFans popping. They're both in on it, and then once they make $1 million, they'll reveal that it's just a big joke. But I'm not getting that vibe right now.
No, that's not what happened, and that's not what's going on right now. I mean, it's a real issue, and the video hurt, but then also the fact that, the way I had to find out about the OnlyFans page, that's another thing on top of it that hurts as well. So I wouldn't put my business out in the streets. I wouldn't put nothing like this out in the streets unless it was, real official. And I didn't do this one, so it's hurting. It's hurtful, and I got to listen to people, opinions every day, all day right now about my relationship, and that's something I never.
And there you go. If you want to hear more about his feelings on the matter, you can go check out DJ Vlad's channel. That's probably where his interview is fully up. And yeah, there you go. And again, I said it last time, and I'll say it again. This brother is an old G. It's not to say that old folks aren't interested in clout and doing certain things to gain publicity or attention, but he didn't come off in that video to me as if he was a part of the ploy to just get attention. And I also found interesting that his wife was going on I don't want to say world tour, but they were doing multiple interviews about the aftermath, even going on Cameron and Mace's show. It is what it is with Cameron and Mace, even though the line of questioning was a bit sus. Yeah, so he his brother felt that he had to speak out as well. I don't know if y'all remember y'all's full set opinions on the entire matter, but hearing this brother, his anguish and his pain and remorse about the situation, I'm just putting a little sauce on it. Does that kind of sway your thoughts on the original topic or story that we went over? Sorry, True Ghost.
Not really. I think I brought it up that maybe it was just an elaborate scheme, but I honestly didn't think that it was because, like you said, he's an OG. I didn't really get the vibe from that video. So this, I mean, again, this video would just kind of affirm that. I don't know. Maybe he's a great actor and it is an elaborate plot, but I don't really think it is. So yeah, it doesn't change my thoughts on it one.
What about you, Ace? From what you recall of all the things that we went over and listened to her side of things, and when she originally dropped the deuce, just hearing his side of the story or how he's feeling, change anything for you?
No, it doesn't change anything. Because I mean, we talked about it from the perspective of it being real. I don't think, I don't think I considered um the whole thing being fake when we were discussing it. Um, so yeah, I guess one thing that this affirms for me is that just based on the way he's talking, it doesn't seem like he's at the point where he just wants to up and leave the woman. I
Mm.
mean, maybe I'm reading reading too into it or not.
Nah, smart observation, to be honest.
Gotcha. But yeah, I don't see that. So I do think like one of my points was that they could it's possible that they could still work it out and you know move past this. So I guess this to
Just
me
move,
this does show that
just move past it.
not move past it, but work through it. I should say.
Got you, got you. And I think in general, even though, yeah, from what I recall, you guys were pro divorce on some
Yep,
instances.
I
I
still am.
I do like seeing people. I do like seeing people work things out. So I mean, obviously, based off some of the things that she was saying from the original thing, uh, this might have been a not only her offense, but as a couple, they need to work things out and make sure their finances in order and everything like that. So I'm not gonna say salute to Joe Smith, but salute to a couple that might be going through something, but you might stick it out in the end. We don't know. If there's any updates and they're interesting, we'll cover that too. But unless there's anything else, which I don't think there would be, we can move on to the next joint, the real first topic. No. And I might have jacked up the order, but no, that's not it.
Is this on me? Oh no, my fault.
We're currently looking for a new producer. I think there's two, maybe even yeah, there's three, but you can just pull up this and the other one, or the Instagram post. All right, and then go back to the there we go. Now we're where we need to be. So I don't know if y'all peeped this or heard about this, but researcher Randall Bell found out through his study that if you make your bed each morning, you are 206% more likely to become a millionaire. Say what? Yes. A practice that our parents have been preaching to us. Make your bed. Apparently, they weren't just saying it because they don't like to see a room that's unkept. Apparently, there might also be linked to you being wildly successful. Now, obviously, when you hear something like this, you need a bit more context, or maybe it automatically clicks for you and it makes sense. But there's some additional context if you scroll down a bit, and that the additional Twitter context also leads to an article. You can pull up the article. I don't know if we're going to go over it because it actually goes into like multiple habits that successful people have. But you go back to the thing, just a little blurb, it kind of expounds more upon it. Um, Bed makers, I like that. Bed makers have more productivity, well-being, budgeting skills. A book by Randall claims, but it's not making the bed. It's not making your bed makes you rich. Obviously, it's the core. It's just a correlation. Other things may influence both habits and wealth. So, rush to go make up your bed because you think it's gonna make you a millionaire. Obviously, no, it's not the actual bed making aspect of it. It's the mentality and the habits that come with it. So, maybe this like makes 100% sense to you, or maybe you're a bit suspicious. But I would like to know what you guys think. Kind of gauge where y'all are at with this. In hearing this, do y'all think did any deep dives? Let's find out who we're working with here. Ghosts. Do you or do you not? Do you not? I don't know if that makes sense. Do you make your bed every day?
No.
Okay, nice, honest. 'Cause who would lie about that? Ace, what about you? You make your bed every day on the day? Ace.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a everyday bed maker and a uh. I'm assuming you make your bed sometime, right, Ghost?
When I get company.
Jesus,
I don't know. It's always that's been pointless to me, honestly.
Oh, interesting. Okay, okay. Nice. I like this. Nice dichotomy we got here going on here. Okay. Well, now that we know where everyone stands in the matter, um, okay. So let's get to the crux of it.
Well, do you
Huh?
make your bed every day?
Every day, but I make it, maybe 3 to 4 times out of the week. And also, I guess maybe I'm not necessarily in the middle. I'm probably more to. I usually make it like sometime throughout the day when I'm like, tidying up things. Um, but so I guess we'll start with the bed maker of the group. Um, do you think that that this type of habit does contribute to the mindset of a successful person? Um, what do you think, Ace?
I feel like it's probably a symptom and not a cause. Or
Mm,
yeah, pretty much like it's more like you're more likely to make your bed if you're thinking in a way that's going to lead you to success rather than like getting into the habit of making your bed um contributing to it. Um and yeah, I mean the reason I say that is because as somebody who makes my bed, I don't think of it as something that is contributing to like my success for the day or anything like that, or like starting off the day well. It's almost just something that I do out of habit. I also I don't know if I'm cheating in a way, but I I making my bed is like extremely simple because I only have one uh cover on it, like one comforter. I have a sheet on it, but it's like the stretchy elastic one that just stays on. So
we
all I
don't
do is
necessarily need to know your.
I know I used to sleep with like a sheet and the cover, and like you'd have to tuck the sheet in under the mattress, and then
You
like
definitely don't have to tuck. I mean, this is getting into the hella nuance of it. But are you telling me there's only one layer between you and your mattress?
yeah, exactly.
Mm,
So it's kind of simple. I'm just saying all that to say it's very simple for me. So it's more something I do out of habit because it's simple versus like this this drive to, I don't know, like start the day right or anything like that.
right, right. Yeah, I'm trying to recall. Do you recall if you always done this, or is it something
No,
you
no,
adapted
absolutely not.
later? Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's something I started doing.
okay, okay. Oh, I don't know. Maybe there might just be something there. Although I do so far am aligned with what you're saying. It's probably not. Again, I don't think anybody makes their bed with the mentality, okay, I'm doing this because it helps me be more productive, or it's sets my makes my budgeting skills better. I do think it's just if you are already somebody that's a go getter, likes to have certain things in order and have structure, you're more inclined to do that. But before we get to any more of the stories, what about you, Ghost? Do you think that making your bed can contribute to the mindset of a successful person?
I think Ace in that little comment in Twitter touched on it. I think it's more of a causation thing, not a correlation thing. But I do think, well, this isn't exactly a question, but I'll say that I want to start making my bed more. Not that I think it'll lead me to being a millionaire, but I do think that there are positives. Making your bed every day does come from a positive mindset, in my opinion, and that you're more structured and uh, schedule oriented and willing to adhere to that on a consistent basis. I think that leads to good habits. So I don't think that, like, I don't really think there's any basis behind the bed making itself, but the mindset that you need to have to get into that, I think, is a good one to have. So I don't know. It's a habit that I might start doing just to, it doesn't hurt anything. And it seems like it, I don't know if I'd say it leads into having a more healthy and structured lifestyle, but I think it has, if you have the mindset, then I think that's a good start. So yeah.
Dang. Are you telling me that we might be potentially invoking some level of change on this podcast? I don't believe it. But in a unrelated but somewhat related, I'm actually interested that if these stories were in any way tied to each other, go to the Instagram post. It's very bare bones, but it's very interesting. So, apparently, some individuals out there may think there is a link to this, and so much so that they want to put it to the test. So to the shade room. The headline is "Make your bed to make a bag." Gotta have a catchy line. A company will pay you to make your bed every day for a month. So some additional info, and again, there's not too much. But a jewelry company of all places is paying someone $1,000 if they can make their bed daily for 30 days. According to Fox News, the company is looking for someone to journal or vlog their how making your bed impacts your overall feelings. And they are quoted with saying, "We're excited to hear how this little change can make a big difference in your life." The company wrote in a press release announcing the contest. Sorry, I wish they put the whatchamacallit, the name of the organization, but maybe they want to have some level of anonymity. So I guess it's pretty obvious that everyone here, if they were paid to do it, would do it. Although maybe the vlogging aspect of it would be a little annoying. But do you think? I guess we can do it from reverse, and you kind of already alluded to it, Go. So maybe we already have your answer. But if you were to stop making your bed, Ace, do you think that could have impact on your overall feelings, like in your life?
Um, I mean, it's kind of become like almost like a OCD thing. It's just like something I feel like I should do in the morning. If I don't do it, like I've kind of tried to not not in any extremely deliberate way, but like say I'm rushing out the house or something, kind of tried to be like, oh, let me just skip this, and I still end up going back to make it. So uh, I but I don't think if I didn't do it, my life would fall apart. It's just it's really become ingrained in my mind to just do it in the morning because it's simple. It's something you can just do quickly, and at least there's that one thing that's I don't know, taken care of in the morning quickly and easily. So
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I definitely don't think the cause of changing that would be like your life, falls apart. I mean, it could be like a butterfly effect situation, but I'm just curious to know whether you thought it would have some level of impact in your life or your feelings rather. Yeah, and I guess like I said, you already kind of mentioned it, but do you think if you started to make your bed every day on the day, that it would change your perspective or your feelings, Ghost?
Um, maybe, probably not.
Nice and pessimistic or realistic, depending on how you look at it. Have some level of change that they're willing to pay somebody. So, yeah, this may be something we also have to come back and see. Obviously, again, there's already been some level of study regarding this. If you're interested, you can go check out this. Apparently, it's a book made by the researcher. What's the name? What's the guy? Randall Bell, I believe. So I guess you could do some independent research, or you could just read this article. Go to the article real quick. Ace.
Wait, where's the link?
The article that we pulled up from Twitter,
Oh,
the little tab. Or you could check out this article, Seven Rich Habits of Highly Successful People, from a man who studied them for 25 years. Um, I'm pretty sure this article probably outlines not only the making bed aspect, but just other habits apparently that successful people have. And I always have heard that, and maybe this is a thing that we've all heard, that successful people um, all typically have like very similar traits in very similar mindsets that not only made them successful but keep them successful. So yeah, there might be some information that is worth gleaning from this article or again that book. Um, so yeah, feel free. The article and other sites and sources pertaining to this topic will be in the description below if you are interested.
I do have one more related comment here.
Hmm.
One thing I have been thinking about a lot and making steps towards, and I think this is something that um, I don't know, like might help my mentality further is like really cleaning my room. So while my bed is made up in a state that I would deem as clean as it could be, um, there's a lot of stuff that I could get rid of, and a lot more organization that could be that could help out. So that's something I definitely I don't know. For some reason, that feels like it would have more of an impact than just making my bed. And maybe that's the problem. Like because my room isn't in the state that I think I would deem as actually clean. Um, the bed is just like I don't know. It's it doesn't feel as impactful as it maybe would if my room was clean and my bed was made. So that could be something. But yeah, that's something I'm working towards.
Gotcha. Well, one thing you can never say is that we come on here and cap because y'all be giving up information that most people probably wouldn't divulge. But I will say, I think that does go along with the bed making habit, just like having keeping things in order, having a routine about things. Like for me, I and within reason, within unless I'm doing something that takes me away from it, I do like do a nice little deep dive cleaning my house every Sunday. So on a weekly basis, just make sure certain things are kept, some things are cleaned or maintained or adjusted or whatever the case may be. So. And I think that's really what the moral of the story is. Again, I think if you do dig inside the mindsets and habits of successful people or wealthy people, I think you find, I mean, there are always going to be outliers, but I think you do find a good amount of routine, even if it's like the time in which they wake up every day and some of the things that they do, whether it's waking up earlier or whatever the case may be. I think you find routine. I think you find structure. I think you find the ability to do something consistently, even when you don't really feel like it. Um, yeah, I think those those are again indicators of success or wealth or whatever you may be, or whatever you would describe success. But if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next topic. Yes. I actually meant. Maybe I'm not telling the truth. I came across this drug I came across it. I heard about it a while back, and I think I might have even seen advertisements for it. And the only thing I know, we definitely talk about it, but I know we have talked about uh, like different tactics people were thinking about, or that were potentially out there for people that want to lose weight in by eating less. So, and obviously, I want to say like uh, appetite suppression drugs have been existing for a while, but apparently this one's like working. So, working enough so that apparently Walmart says that the drug Ozempic, I hope I'm saying it right, is making people buy less food. And I guess we can play the little video.
It turns out popular drugs used to suppress appetite, like Ozempic and Wegovy, may have an economic side effect. People who take them appear to be buying less food at Walmart, where today Elodie Nicholas got her prescriptions and her groceries.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that I'm buying less.
She started taking Ozempic after having 2 heart attacks, and she's lost 36 pounds since May.
All right, look at that. Saving people's lives. Anyway, so it looks like Walmart and several food manufacturers are affected by consumers not buying food as much due to weight loss drugs. According to NBC Nightly News reports state, people who use Walmart's pharmacies to receive weight loss drugs like Ozempic and the other one they mentioned, Wegovy, are buying less foods at its stores. If you're not aware, Ozempic is a medicine prescribed for diabetes, and Wegovy is prescribed for weight loss. Mondelez International, the company behind Oreos and Chips Ahoy, stock fell by 2.7%. Its Niger Snacks beer sales have dropped too. Constellation Brands, the U.S. distributor for Modelo, especially, is down by 1.3%. So, as you can see, we got real numbers to show that like people are buying less food. I'm correlating it to people using weight loss less appetite suppressing drugs. It's interesting, but I'm pretty sure they do have a good amount of research to back it up, and you have heard from literal people they are buying less food. So yeah, I mean, this kind of seems like something that's good, like literally impacting the market. So I'm interested to know what y'all think on this. Do you foresee, because weight loss is always going to be a business, from gyms to drugs to the type of clothes that people sell or companies sell. It's always going to be a big business. Do you think that, or do you foresee that this could end up being a larger issue? I guess for the economy, or do you think that it's actually a positive sign of how things should be? Like, we're getting back to where the amount of food people should be buying and consuming. We'll start with you, Ace. Question mark.
Sorry. When this happened, I'm just going to give the disclaimer that I mute to check the stream and I keep forgetting to unmute.
Oh,
so
yeah. No,
my
I
apologies.
no, it's my apology. I should be more conscious of that. My apologies. But yeah, thank you. I'll keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was so I think this is a complex one, and it's kind of difficult to me to come to a conclusion right away, but the first thing that jumps to my mind about the story is like drugs being at the center of it. And this is not to say that like my views are correct or not, but whenever I think about drugs, it's like it's always something that I have tried to distance myself from, and I don't know, continue to do that. Like doing anything with drugs versus finding a natural way to do it in terms of like becoming more healthy is something that I've always tried to do for myself, and I guess would endorse. So I don't know, like just that aspect of it gives me pause as far as this being a good thing. Um, but at the same time, I do realize that or acknowledge that obesity is definitely an issue.
especially
In
in the
a,
states.
yeah, yeah, exactly, especially in the U.S. And for there not only to be like a method that seems to be working, but like actually, potentially having an effect on the market is like I don't know. It's kind of shocking, and eh, it does seem like a good thing from the surface level. So, um, yeah, like I don't know. I'm kind of torn in that way where if it is having the effect of people, people losing weight and people buying less food, I can't say it's all bad. Like it does seem to be a slightly positive thing.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I guess I'll leave it that there for now.
Gotcha. And obviously, with anything for us and for any listeners, we're never here to like. If we're just here to have conversations, think about things, have deep discussions, and if we can glean a moral story from things, that's what we try to do. So it's obviously no worries. And I will say, similar to you, I think I have a similar relationship when it comes to drugs. Um, But one thing I've started to realize more or think about more or even just notice that it exists is that while when we think of drugs, especially like, some of these processed things that some of these larger corporations make, it is kind of like it does make you a bit wary. But one thing that I've been able to find is a lot of times there are natural versions of like a lot of drugs or a lot of supplements that you could take.
Yeah.
So like even in hearing this, and I know it's not all going to be 1-to-1 overall with the outcome of it, but it would it change anything for you if there was like just this natural like root or supplement that existed in the wild where if you took it you have less appetite?
Maybe, but that's a good question because I would like I don't know. This is speaking from somebody who's never had any type of weight issues in the past besides perceiving myself as too skinny. Um
What? Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but when the hell was this?
well it's pretty much a constant thing.
You perceive yourself as too skinny?
Yeah, I
You?
don't know. I don't know if we want to go off on
Dog, just
but
whatever you do, just ask me to come over and chill, and you'll correct that perception real quick.
This is a time where it probably benefit us to have like face cams and stuff.
Yeah.
no, yeah, I don't know. That's just something that has always been uh part of me, and I think it's because I have my dad as like my role model still, and if
Yeah,
people who
that's
know
the
my dad, like, I think it'll
yep.
make sense. um, but yeah, coming from somebody who hasn't had any issues with obesity or anything like that, um, it's I find it difficult to weigh in as far as how people should be approaching weight loss or my opinion on it. The only thing I can say is like I would hope that finding ways to combat the mentality that doesn't rely on like a like an external source, almost treating it as trying to overcome an addiction um versus uh like using supplements to overcome it as like a treatment.
Like a
Um,
substitute instead of like consuming food, you're just consuming something that you use to get
yeah,
over it.
yeah, exactly. I feel like the more um the more healthy approach in my mind is to approach it from like a mental standpoint and try to um come up with ways and maybe like like a therapy type situation versus coming or versus um using any type of supplement to combat um, the obesity. I feel like in my mind that is the better approach, but again, like that's just from the perspective of somebody who has not gone through struggling with obesity.
You can give all the disclaimers you want. I could already feel someone trying to
Yep.
cancel you for that type of
Yep.
take already.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
such is the gamble when you do podcasts. Anyway, yeah, after hearing this, Ghost, what do you think? Do you think that this could have a larger issue, both from a market and just a society standpoint, or do you think we're actually heading in the direction of like, a positive direction, and this is a sign of how things should be? What do you think?
Um, I'm kind of with Ace on this one. Well, for one, just what I hear in general, like drugs or drugs used for anything, to be honest, it puts me in a skeptical mind state because how many drugs have been put out and like in the past, like it was like what cigarettes and asbestos, all these things that weren't looked at as harmful before, but then 20 years later, it's like, oh, this is actually giving you cancer. So I
Cigarettes
don't
weren't.
know.
When were cigarettes not seen as harmful? In the 1700s?
No,
Well,
like
what do you
60s.
mean? Cigarettes, like people were fine with like kids smoking cigarettes. Like it really was not known that they give you cancer, or if it was known that it had negative side effects, but they would cover it up, and it was like constant advertisement. It really was looked at as fine, like health wise, it wasn't a negative thing at all.
I think we just used to do things that were a bit more like harmful or that led to like low life expectancy. I don't know.
People did not know. I mean, they've had like advertisers had to have to put it on the cartons now that it can lead to this and that, but people didn't know. Like they really didn't.
Fair enough. I do agree with that. I don't know about the didn't know. Maybe
People,
not. Maybe
well, maybe
widespread.
the higher ups did, but people. I don't know if you've ever seen Mad Men, and this is obviously not like 100% historically accurate, but a lot of stuff in Mad Men specifically talked about this, like the cigarettes issue and all that, and there's a lot of covering up that went on with advertisement and all that. But I guess that's kind of beside the point.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't mean to detract from the.
Yeah,
from
no,
the
you're good.
point.
But I mean, that aside, like maybe let's say that this is an actual legit drug and it's been FDA approved and they don't find any negative side effects with it.
Oh, it definitely
I
has
think-
been. You can't.
Yeah,
I don't
it's-
think you can sell stuff from Walmart just willy nilly unless it's FDA approved.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of a weird one because in general, I think people in America in particular do eat a lot more than they should be, a lot more unhealthy than a lot of other places in the world, and some of it is by design in that it's not an official like addictive substance like tobacco or something, but a lot of the sugary stuff can get addictive to an extent, and that's kind of the culture that America's known for at this point, like McDonald's and fast food. And I think if people were to eat less and eat less junk, it is a net good thing. But if it comes at the if it's because you're using a drug as a crutch, I don't think that's like a great basis or a way to do it, because it's, I don't want to say it's lazy, but I mean there's like you could lose weight and I don't want to say decrease your appetite, but if you exercise more, if you had a better diet, then that's going to go a long way towards solving the same issue of obesity and all that. And I guess some people have it like a legit health things where they feel inclined to eat more, but it's, I don't know. It's just it's a slippery slope for me. And I feel like if you start out with a drug for this, then it just feels like taking a shortcut, kind of. Maybe that's not fair to say, but that's just kind of the way I look at it.
No, I don't think there's anything too inherently wrong with that. Again, somebody probably could try to cancel you for that, but I think largely we have the same view on the matter. And yeah, you brought up a great point about how we're just looking at the side effect of this impacting the market, but we don't know the side effects long term of how this can impact people's bodies or mentality. And, while they might see a net gain or net loss of the weight, but we don't know the full effects of what something like this could do to a person. And yeah, obviously, the way to fully combat something like this, I think a lot of people would suggest it is more of a mental thing. Like if we were to change the way our mental relationship with food in the States, I think that could impact more people and have longer lasting effects. And to what you were saying, Ace, I have heard of people using like therapy or like counseling as a method of like it obviously not, it wasn't directly tied to weight loss, but they saw it like getting some like mental therapy for that, and
Mm,
it ended up having it ended up working.
nice
Um,
to hear
but
that.
yeah, yeah, I mean, it obviously is like you said originally, it is very complex because, you know, there's gonna be a lot of people out there that say, hey, if this thing can uh, give me a fast track solution to get this weight down, and I've had what 2+ heart attacks, and I need to lose weight like today and not, go through not the effort, but the time intensive or consumption of like doing it another way. I might have to do this. I might not necessarily have the option as of right now. It's like a little like life or death type situation. Um, so obviously we're not ignorant to the fact that that could be a possibility for some people. But again, on an overall level, you do in general might want to be on the side of addressing the root cause of why we are in a state of the rate of obesity that we have. And if I'm still mad at us for any of the takes that we said, there's a lot of fitness channels and podcasts where they tell you even way worse. So go cancel them before you cancel us. uh, but yeah, I don't think there's too much more on this unless you guys have anything else. But yeah, there's nothing else. We can move on to the next topic.
Cool.
Again, this could be something that we might come back to in the future because I am interested to know if there is any other impacts or what people are thinking about that. Dang, we're at an hour. We only went to 2 topics. We gotta speed it up. But I don't know if this will probably slow it down because we got some hip hop stuff to talk about. We gotta get back to our roots, our culture. Whenever we have some of these hip hop conversations, sometimes they can get a bit lengthy. So sit back, enjoy the rides. If you prefer, I forgot to say this in the beginning, but if you prefer just to hear us talk about a specific topic and not watch an entire stream worth of like 2+ hours of content, we chop up the episodes and put them on the channel, so you can just go watch those if you prefer. Nice sliced and condensed versions of our podcast. Now, salute to pretty much everybody involved here. Salute to Meek Mill, Rick Ross. If you don't know, they are dropping a collab album. I think it might be out at the time of recording, and they've been going on a press run. They've been doing some shows. It really feels like old MMG, even though you could argue with this type of thing is the sign of MMG is officially like over, because if it was back in the day, you would also have Wale. Sorry, my apologies, Wale, and Gunplay. Although we know what Gunplay's out these days, and all the old MMG members. But I also salute to Jim Jones. His name is brought up in this, but it's not about the rollout or anything like that. This is about this brother D1's criticism on Meek Mill, Rick Ross, and Jim Jones. So, and Meek Mill's reaction to it. But before we hear a reaction, let's hear what D1 himself had to say. And a disclaimer. Again, I want to be very charitable with everybody involved. I try to do that, but I don't know. When you're like, if you're like me, this brother's about to talk a good bit. So I could understand if you fast forwarded some of this. Again, no slight to him. This is just, when I was listening to this, that was my mentality. But go ahead and play. Maybe y'all will appreciate his sentiments more.
to not be honest with you. Rick Ross, you could do better, brother. Meek Mill, you could do better, brother. I love you too much not to be honest with you. Are you the face of prison reform? Cause are you the face of prison reform? Or are you sitting here on your new song with Ross talking about getting somebody murked and shot at the red light? Which one is it, bro? Which one is it, bro? Cause I did a shoe giveaway in my city and gave out 1,300 pairs of your shoes because they said reform underneath them. And I love that you partnered with a major shoe company and you out here pushing prison reform. But now I got to sit here like, man, this man glorifying getting people killed as of a week ago. Like, what are you doing, bro? Lil Snoop really got killed. That broke your heart. You wear him around your neck. Why are you glorifying the same thing? The rap game, hip-hop industry is great at cooking up some delicious poison. I don't call you out because I got a problem with you, man. Like, I wish we could go get lunch right now, me and any of them. I love you too much.
So it starts to give you an indication of what the criticism is in all of this. And this is honestly a long-standing, like, age-old debate. We probably touched on this a couple of times. Just that debate of, like, if you're going to IRL be a positive figure in a community, do things such as, like, you know, be about prison reform, as we know that Meek Mill has largely been invested in this part of his life, you know, speak about, like, change and how we can do better as a culture. Should your lyrics reflect that, or at the very least not be related to, like, the literal opposite of, you know, being some gang street shit or stuff, sorry. But let's hear what else he has to say.
To not be honest with you.
There you go.
That's what it is, bro.
Yep.
And so if anybody feel bad about being called out, it's like, let's talk. Let's talk about it and let's just figure out what we can do better. But at the end of the day, guess what's not changing? The word of God ain't changing.
Okay.
There's death and life in the power of the tongue, Proverbs 18 and 21. That's not changing. And trying with this foolish argument that it's just entertainment. This ain't real. Mm-hmm. How many more people got to die in the hood, man? How many people at the end of the day lives got to get ruined and poisoned, and how many rappers got to get killed for us to be like, come on, man, when it's hip hop, it's a whole culture, and it's implied that this is autobiographical and this is non-fiction tales that people are telling. How much does that have to happen? So don't hit me with that. People just don't want to confront the reality of this stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, despite what you might think, he hasn't really told any lie yet, in my opinion. Obviously bringing up some extremely valid points, and I think that was the last one. And two, to give an idea of this brother, because I wasn't super familiar with him, but this brother is a rapper himself, an artist himself, I believe from Louisiana, and if it's worth anything to give him even more credit, apparently he was the first person in Louisiana's history to become an appointee of the governor. So he's literally in politics, and that probably is also why he's very invested in, like, you gotta practice what you preach or practice what you rap to some degree. So yeah, I don't think you really, again, I will say some of the talking points have been, again, reaccepted, but honestly, he hasn't really said anything that's blatantly wrong. I guess let's see what Meek Mill's response and all this would be. So Meek Mill reposted the clip, and he said, "Nah, we do everything, LOL. I was rapping this way when I became the face of reform. That's how I got here. Y'all forgot that fast." Thinking face emoji. So, in a very Meek Mill fashion, a man of few words. He's not going to respond with the whole thing, although he might get asked about it in an interview. Maybe y'all interpret it a different way, but I mean, effectively what he's saying is like, I've been rapping this way since I got here, and this is the way I was rapping when I became the face of reform. If you want to say that he's the face of reform, that's kind of interesting to say. And actually, really, that's the whole sentiment. It's not even the 1 and 2. Yeah, that his rapping, what he raps about, his content, is what he's been doing and how and while he's been doing it as a person that cares, that's deeply invested in the form and things of that nature. So he doesn't really see an issue with that. Yeah. So I guess it really just boils down to, what do we think on this matter? Do you think that when it comes to, and this is something we only talk about hip hop, it feels like, but do you think that that your lyrics should be reflective of what you preach or what you think in real life? But effectively, can you rap about, street gang stuff and then be about change in prison reform, or whatever your area in IRL that you deeply are invested in for a positive cause? Let's start with you, Ghost. What do you think?
Well, the first thing I just wanted to say real quick, I'm probably misinterpreting this, but when Meek said we do everything, does he mean they do everything that they rap about in their music, or I'm probably just not interpreting that
I
correctly.
interpret it to just mean we do everything as we're gonna rap the stuff we rap about, and then we're also going to be about the positive change. But you could interpret that he does the things that he does in his raps, which would be, again, kind of that would
Man,
be
all right.
charitable.
I guess to answer the question, it's a very fine line to tread, and I think he's raising some good points. You can say, or I guess you can rap about certain things, and then in your actions, you're actually doing good for the community, and it's, I guess, if you're not actually doing what you're rapping about, then that's one thing, and you're just pretending you're doing this thing, but then you're actually helping out the community, giving back to people, and I don't know. I guess it's like you said, it's kind of like living a double life, but eh, what it really comes down to is how much do you think what people rap about influences, particularly the younger generations, but
Yeah,
anyone's actions? Because I've said that for me, what I listen to has no effect at all on my life, but I can't say that, like, I don't know if it'd be a hard thing to get the stats on it, but I don't know how many young kids, 12-year-old kids are sitting there listening to this and the stuff he's rapping about, and it is having an impact on the decision making, either if it's conscious or subconscious. It's tough to say, and until there's like a definitive study, I I think that it's better to, well, not better, but erring on the side of caution, and that if you talking about something and you're promoting this through your music, even if it's not in real life, it is going to have an effect of condoning it to some effect. And I don't know. It just, like you said, like if you're giving out shoes for reform and you're talking about like, and gun violence and we got to stop shooting, killing our own people, then if you're rapping about it in your music, like even if I think what he was implying is that he got to the where he is now because of the subject matter he's rapping about, and he isn't going to change that even if his real life actions now are different. I don't, you could interpret his statement 50 different ways. I really don't know what he was exactly trying to say, but I don't know. I'm on the side of D1 in this case, and this is something else that's interesting, that this isn't like a full, doesn't need to be a full topic, but I don't know if you heard that there was recently a ruling that whatever that artists, the music that they put out can now be used against them
yeah,
in the
yeah.
court of law, which is something that we did also talk about. So
They're doing some of that with the YSL Young Thug case.
yeah, that whole RICO thing. So that's also interesting because if if people continue to rap about what they rap about, and there starts to be like real repercussions and consequences because of that, I wonder if that more so than this whole conversation of are you rapping about it or are you being about it, if that will impact the subject matter of rap more than like the discussion that's been going on for decades at this point. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I feel like you can't say you're the face of reform and make music about pulling off people. You can't do it. Like I'm one for like separate the art from the artist, and it doesn't impact me, but it's just
On this, but I guess I'll save it for a little afterwards. But to address a couple of things, I'm pretty positive there has been like studies done throughout time that do address this. Although I don't know if there's a comprehensive one that we look at like it's definitive like the facts that rap music and people that consume it are tend to skew a bit differently. But I mean, even on like a very like individual, like local level, we all got young boys and younger siblings and people that we've seen in our lives and type of content and music that they consume and the way they act. Obviously, it doesn't always have to be that their results or they are like more they act more negatively, but I think at a base level, the things that we consume do impact us or have the ability to impact us. And I'm like you, I strongly believe I could listen to the worst of it, and I have listened to the worst of it, and it's not going to compel me to sway another way. But obviously, we've had I don't want to say blockers or barriers, but we've had certain things in our lives that also put us in a mindset that we are able to, navigate through listening to certain content because we had something that's way more we see is way more valuable or important to guide how we act. But not everyone has that, so that's how you get to you could listen to something and that could actually literally reflect how you're gonna act in life. And I brought one record by what's that brother's name? YMW Melly. I don't know if I'm saying the first part right. No shade to him though. I will say like that was like one of the first times in my adult years where I've heard a record and it's so like graphically like like just violent like outlined it like bar for bar like how they're going about like the guy was saying like murking somebody like that was one of the first times where I was like dang this is actually like if I didn't know no better this and I listen to this type of content all day every day. Yeah, I'm gonna go murder somebody. Like that's gonna happen. But obviously I'm being some level of unserious there. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't initially think this boils down to like who do you side with more, like this brother or Meek, even though he didn't really present the best argument in this small response. But I guess that is an interesting way to look at it. So I guess kind of more so phrases like that. Which one are you leaning towards more, Ace, the Brother D Nice, or Meek Mill standpoint, and just like the whole conversation of like if you rap about something, should your IRL life reflect that, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards D1 as well.
Did I say D1 or did I say D Nice?
You said
I'm,
be nice.
I'm like I heard it. I was like my bad D Nice and my bad D1. Yeah, D1.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards his opinion on this. I just like I acknowledge that there is I don't know. Like there's some mental gymnastics you have to do to justify like, violent lyrics in general. Um but then when you add onto it like trying to be somebody that promotes good while rapping those lyrics, I think it becomes even more of a um difficult thing to justify and be like, yo, I can do both. Like it doesn't it doesn't really make sense. And even if it somehow makes sense in Meek Mill's mind, D1 kind of can have a positive impact on other young brothers to get behind, Meek Mill's movement when Meek Mill is still rapping these lyrics. So he's still shooting himself in the foot regardless, by continuing to put out the same type of content. Um and his 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 uh his message here in reaction to it doesn't acknowledge that, yeah, the rapping got you here, but that doesn't mean you can't change. You can't change your lyrics. You can't change um what you rap about or how you rap. Like these things can still change, um and yeah, it's not like it's a given that has to be a constant. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, you would expect people to grow up and mature, and that be reflected in their lyrics versus just stay stagnant. So I don't know. Yeah, I definitely fall D1 side here.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to give the disclaimer as well that I am somebody that does consume all types of content, including rap that's uh that's not positive or
Yeah.
uplifting. But I I feel like for me, I've definitely found a use for it, and I think like at this point, it's not something I would give up or um just completely speak against and say there's no it's hard to say good, but there's no purpose for it. People just should outright stop rapping in a way that's you know talking about violence and all type of stuff.
Yeah.
um i I wouldn't go that far. So just again, to make that disclaimer up, but at the same time, with this particular argument, I do fall on the side of it. It definitely comes off as like hypocritical to promote the good and still rap the same way, like um have those same violent lyrics, and not at least have some type of um overarching message about getting out of it or something like that, like just to continue in the same way.
Yeah. Um. So a couple things. I'm trying to figure out the order I should lay them, and all these things are gonna be open up to the floor, so you guys can jump in anytime. But I don't know if I don't know if this is like a minor thing or this changed anything for you. And I don't necessarily want to focus on Meek Mill specifically. I would say a lot of artists do this, but for one, I mean, Meek Mill isn't a one trick pony. Like there are many of verses where the content is not solely some street gang stuff. Like one verse that especially comes to mind is his verse on "What's Free." I definitely would compel people to listen to that record. Such a dope record with him, Ross, and Jay-Z. That's
Say the record again.
"What's Free." Like that's an easy one that comes to mind, where he's literally saying like ceasing wars and stopping violence. Like he's very much he very much has records and verses where he is promoting what he preaches, like in the sense that he does want to he does want to lead to change in the community and stop violence and stop some of these things that are holding us back. So yeah, I don't know if that changed anything, but just to note that I say that about him, but I said this about artists and rap artists in general, just the sense that there are very few rappers that if that's their content, that is their whole stick, like that is their whole MO. Obviously, you can be tied to something like synonymous with it. Like if you listen to this rapper, you're going to predominantly hear about this. But again, a lot of rappers that do rap about that, there is going to be either a hint of it, or there are going to be records where it's expressing how this is this is our lifestyle, and this is what we come to, face with in our lives. But at the same time, we do want change. We do want better. We do want our people to be in a better space where there's not as much violence and hate towards each other. Yeah, I feel that's just like something we have to point out, because when we hear a conversation like this, it makes it seem like these artists are just broadly speaking promoting one type of ideal, their wealth and what they do with their wealth. But that's neither here nor there. And the other thing is, again, speaking about rap and hip hop, why does it continually seem like this is really only a conversation that pertains to rap? meaning like other genres, you can basically talk about whatever, and there's not as much criticism. And obviously, as I say this, I know that at one point in time, genres like heavy metal, rock, alternative, whatever you want to say, did get some level of criticism for the lyrics, and there was, like people were looking at like that. That's the boogeyman of music. But again, maybe I'm not fully understanding the history of that, but it doesn't seem like this is like continually like being it continued to be the subject or subject of discussion. When hip hop is now what 50 plus years old, and it's like still just here and it's not going anywhere. And I bring this point up to say, 'cause I don't necessarily like the arguments of like, oh well, he did it, so why can't I? But I just don't like don't in this point of like human civilization, we understand that art is like a whole separate entity, and while art can has the ability to impact people, that if you don't forget that it's art at the end of the day, we should be able to let it exist and be consumed. Like if there was, again, this is way less transferable depending on the type of content, but if there was like a movie director that his movies are so graphic and violent, or they put out an image that people think that's starting to impact people, would we be like getting on that movie director, or would we just be able to acknowledge that that's the art that they're creating and that's the content that like they want to put out in the world?
Um, I think the difference. Well, there's two questions. With the movie director, I think the difference is that
And that's just an example, but go ahead.
yeah, I think the difference is that you can have like it's. I feel like it's easier um to say like you have an overarching message with the movie, or like there's a specific thing you're trying to do with it, and um it's not just a, I don't know, like glorification of violence or something like that. um
Who's to say though?
i I mean the director is to say, which
Why
I'm
couldn't
saying,
you
like,
take
I feel
Why
like
couldn't you take whatever argument that the director says and then the artist says it?
because Meek didn't say it.
Well, again, I started by saying I'm not focused on Meek specifically. I'm the conversation around it, but that's fair.
Yeah, I mean Meek didn't say it, and I feel like I don't hear that from artists as well um when it's justified. It's more just like, this is what we lived, so this is what we're talking about. And it's not necessarily well, there's a moral behind it, or there's we're trying to get past it, and like that's in the lyrics too, or like that's an overarching theme of the lyrics for like an album as well. It's just, this is what we lived, so this is what we're talking about. Um
I don't want to say that that's implied, but one, I think that's a factor, and two, I mean, art, whatever form it's taken, a lot of times it's going to be derived from maybe not necessarily one to one with the person that produced it lived, but what that person like, whatever that person went through or gained throughout their life that led them to want to like now illustrate it throughout whatever form that they make it into.
mhm.
So
Yeah, no,
so
you're
so again, these direct if you take it like in a music movie or a show example, maybe the writers or directors didn't necessarily live the lifestyle, but what if they did live the lifestyle? Or if they put out a show that depicted what they grew up with, would it be wrong?
no. And like, remember too, I'm not necessarily even against um rapping what lived. It's just, when we're talking about the hypocrisy of it, I think it's like, again, when we're considering this story, it feels easier to point out the flaw in just rap lyrics versus a movie that you would presume would have like an overarching message or theme or something, or is trying to do something outside of just conveying a person's, what they lived or what they went through.
Would you say
um
that the creators of that movie or that film or whatever, they have to explicitly say that?
no, no, not at all. Or you're saying in defense of it, would they have to say it?
or at all? Would they have to come out and do an interview and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
killed all in succession"? But the point of the movie is actually to show, how we came from this and how we should be that. Like,
They
do you think?
almost certainly would. Yeah. They almost certainly would.
But they don't. Like, no, I don't want to say they don't. I don't want to make a blanket statement like that. But
We don't have an example of this though. I mean, I can't think of one where a director has had, supported something positive and has had to
so your
send them.
so your specific thing is if the artist is in IRL and very supportive positive movements, but their content is one that is of negativity.
Yeah. Then you. I
Interesting.
mean, I'm not saying you have to justify it, but I feel like a situation like this would arise, and especially the more popular the media is, the more likely it is that
so
something
what's
like this will happen.
so what's the solution? If you're a rapper, you talk about gang street stuff. You gotta you can't do anything positive. You can't do
Yeah, you
giveaways.
got
You can't give back to your
no,
community.
no. That's pretty much where I'm landing. But I
That's
was also gonna
crazy.
say, I really do think it comes down to the popularity too. Like, I think if metal was as popular as rap is now, people would have just as much. I mean, yeah, I think people would have just as much of a problem with the lyrics and
Hmm.
the potential negativity that comes from all of that, um, as they have with rap.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually think that's actually really fair. Actually,
yeah,
because hip hop is so incredibly popular.
right.
It has so much influence. It's just the it thing right now.
Right,
Um,
right. There's some metal that I listen to that, like, if the news got a hold of it or whatever, an uproar, and so I truly think it's just because it's not as popular. Um,
bit similar. Like if you had these alternative artists or whatever the genre may be, if they were doing positive things for their communities, but then the music was reflective of like violence or negativity, that you would take issue with it.
hmm, hmm. I mean, that's a darn good question. If I try to make it more one to one and be, it's a metal group that has has a background similar to a Meek Mill, and they have similar lyrics.
Well, I mean,
I think
obviously
that
across the genres, the content is not going to be the same. I mean, I don't
no, no,
want to.
I in my mind, I have to make it the same because otherwise I start to think about, well, they're probably not, um, they're probably not rapping, or sorry, or their lyrics probably
Just
don't
saying.
reflect actual life or like the things that they went through or anything like that, which kind of changes it in my.
What
But
it's different if it's based off like what they've actually witnessed in IRL or experienced in IRL. And that's what I'm saying. Like, at the end of the day, like, perceive things, but it seems like certain things we can acknowledge as art, no matter what the origin story of it. But then certain things, like, depending on the origin story, and depending on how the person justifies it or the disclaimers that they give, that's where it's like we look at the art differently. And again, it's not nothing that I think it needs to be changed or that could be changed. It's just interesting how it's like caveats for certain genres or certain types of content.
I think it's because if somebody if somebody went if somebody is rapping from a perspective of this is what I lived, they're versus they're just making a song or something that has similar content but is not something that they went through. I don't know. It almost feels like you can acknowledge that there's storytelling happening versus promotion.
The literal foundation of hip hop is storytelling. What are we talking about? Like, a lot of like Nas storyline, Jay Z's bars, like they don't have to be a one to one. Hey, I literally was outside one day and we saw this gang shootout and they murdered a 12-year-old kid that was a bystander. It doesn't have to be that, but it could be like reflective of something that's possible or something that they've heard or something that like is not outside the realm of what their life, what the environment reflects.
That's true. That is true. That is true. That is true.
And that stands true for like every rapper. Like no matter, I don't care what rapper is. None of them has bar for bar lived the lifestyles that they rap about. That would be insane to really assign that to them.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it is hard to logic out, but it's still there. And I think, like, I mean, you can acknowledge it as well based on you're listening to the homie there, YNW Melly.
Oh my
That
gosh.
there still is something. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, um, it makes certain music feel worse or
Yeah, that brother lived
more
that. That brother
detrimental.
lived that stuff he rapping about. You can't tell me nothing different. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know.
Um.
Like at the same time, like I said, I do think popularity is a big factor. So it's not necessarily to say that just because it's hip hop or just because it's rap, that's the sole reason.
No, like I said, that's really fair. That's one of the biggest things we can stand on. Just the popularity of it, the eye that are on it. Um. That's definitely going to be a reason of why this conversation in this genre. And I mean, even it's gonna persist. Where it's not gonna be the last time we talk about this conversation because it's also like it also is reflective no matter what type of not what type because obviously you could rap about completely positive things, but like even some of the music that is used to be like more promiscuous or scandalous or like ratchet, whatever you want, however you want to describe it, that tends to be something that's only tied to hip hop. And then even if in IRL the artist may be wanting to promote like having standards and just having a better lifestyle.
Yeah,
It really
yeah,
seems like the stuff that you promote in the music, for better or for worse, is going to get more attention than the things that you do outside of it. Like obviously we know it, but I would wager to say there are a lot of people that don't know anything about Malik. I was gonna say Malik Meek Mill's relation to prison reform and some of the things that he's trying to do. Most people know him as Philly rapper, gang shootout, hood, drugs, and that's just gonna be the image no matter what happens. Unless he like retires of being an activist, which I don't think people really want. I think people do enjoy the music. People enjoy content, um, but there's the way we kind of rationalize it and balance it out. And again, I don't want to focus too much on Meek, but this response obviously wasn't the best. I think we can all agree on that. But they obviously weren't necessarily trying to have a whole dialogue about it. Maybe they'll have an interview, they expound on it more. But this was just supposed to be a quick stream of thought. I'm sure they probably could rationalize and has their own way to like have this conversation. Again, I bet you the way Nas could break down this conversation is drastically different, or the way Lupe, or the way Jay-Z, or so on and so forth. But yeah, again, I think it will be something that persists for better or for worse. And while I would like some level of equality across the board, obviously people just are gonna have their own perception based off the content, which is fine. Makes for conversation. Unless there's anything else, we can move on to the next topic. That's actually one of the albums I'm actually looking forward to listening to, the Rick Ross and Meek Mill album. Oh, salute to, and speaking of hip hop legends, like I said, we got a lot of hip hop. Queen of hip hop and R&B, IMO. Now, while that is what I view them as, and will others view them as, some people in this day and age know Lauryn Hill for still being a super talented and worldwide international superstar, iconic, whatever word you want to assign to that legend in the hip hop community. But you can do that and still maybe not be on time. Yeah, it's just become a meme throughout like the last like I just feel like it's been a few years at this point where like people and you just keep hearing these repeated stories of like people going to Lauryn Hill concerts and they're there on time and Lauryn ain't. And I don't know if this is the first time that they've spoken up on this. I know that there was like a clip that surfaced around of Lauryn like going back and forth with somebody. They were like arguing with somebody, and they were like, yeah, they weren't happy about it. But this seems to be like, if you want their official stance on the matter, I think this might be it. Um, I'll let it play, but the headline, not the headline, but the post also speaks about one of the sentiments she's about to say. So we'll hear it. And it's a minute because she also goes into how she kind of viewed her career in general. So maybe we'll pause it and kind of dissect it, but you can play a bit. I do like to let things kind of play out until you get the full context, but also we want to not let things fully drag. But go ahead and start to play it.
Say, hey, yeah, she's late. She's late to what? Yo, y'all lucky I make it on this blood rise stage every night. Put my heart and soul on the stage. But I don't do it because they let me do it. I do it because I stand here in the name of God, and I do it. Okay. God is the one who allows me to do it, who surrounded me with family and community. When there was no support, when the album sold so many records, and no one showed up and said, hey, would you like to make another one? So I went around the world, and I played the same album over and over and over and over again. Because we're the survivors. And we're not just the survivors, we're the thrivers.
Man, salute to Lauryn Hill. I'm always gonna say that. Although this is just me kind of picking the holes in things, you know, being me. I don't believe for a good minute that nobody tried to get another Lauryn Hill album. Especially when you kind of listen to some of the things that Lauryn has said throughout her career. I can do the Price Rise in China, but like I feel as if people wanted that, they just wanted them to go in a direction that they didn't want to. Would probably be more along the lines of the story. But anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. The moral of the story is she acknowledges it. She knows that it's a recurring topic of conversation, and at this point, she don't really care. She says that we should be even glad that she's on that. We're lucky to even see her on that stage. And I'm interested to hear what y'all think, because y'all are more interested in concerts and shows than I am. Yeah, what do you think of her sentiments? Do you think that when it comes to like artists, or maybe even certain artists that we perceive to be legends, that they should be afforded, you know, this type of grace, you know, as you know, we're maybe not lucky to see them there, but it is like an honor to some degree. And is there any artist or entertainer that you would accept them not being punctual? We'll start with you, Ace. What do you think?
Man, nah, I was on her side right up and talking. Like, as somebody who struggles with punctuality, I I can understand being late to things. I can understand other people being late to things. But to try to justify it, no, no, like I would never, and I don't think anybody else should try to. Like, you acknowledge that you're late, you apologize, and you try to do better, and you move on. You don't try to justify it. Like,
Now
I don't.
hold on just a gosh darn second. If you were you were going to a meeting, right, and it was with someone super important, someone super influential, like you know a billionaire basically, and you were going to go have a sit down with them, which actually we're supposed to have a Jay-Z Jay-Z dinner conversation coming up. But anyway, you were going to have a meeting with them, and you were so highly anticipating that meeting, but then they came a bit late, you would be pissed?
I would be pissed if they tried to write me off and give me a whole diatribe about how legendary they are, and that's why they're late. Like, no, dude.
So even but is them trying to explain that to you, or is it the fact that or is it true? There's some truth to it though.
What? Listen, if you're late, if you're late, you can say why you're late. That's fine. You know, that's for me to be like, oh, it's no problem. But not tell me about how much of a legend you are and you want to make another album. Like, what is all this? You were late, dog.
But no, I'm sorry.
Like, you could have a good excuse too. Like, you got into an accident, your dog died, something like crazy stuff could happen that makes you late. That could make the other person be like, oh, it's not a problem at all, and you completely understand it. And it doesn't even have to be that crazy. But
well, you can't
again,
make an excuse every time. She's consistently late.
Yeah, you see, like, and then you double down. No.
But the thing is, what I was trying to ask is like, do you take issue with them trying to rationalize it, or the fact, but it still exists though, right? Like we agree they're a legend.
Oh my gosh. I take issue with them trying to rationalize it. Yes, I don't care if you're a legend. That doesn't excuse the fact that you're late.
But it does.
No.
Okay.
That's not a reason for being late. Reason
I just
for
want to
being
clear
late.
on that. My bad.
Your plane had issues. Your Uber, like, that's reasons for being late. Not you're a legend. What?
Okay, all right. Just tell me how you feel. Ghost, what do you think about Lauryn?
I'm not on her side. I've never been on her side. And some of your logic here, I know you're playing not devil's advocate in this case, but there's a whole bunch of flaws in it. For one, well, the very first thing is that if you're a legend and you're famous, you have like less reason for being late than anyone else because you got private planes, you got money to pay. Being late at this point, everyone kind of knows that. Yeah. But when you're late to every single show, it's not something where like stuff does come up and it could happen multiple times. But when you're late every single time, it just becomes about not respecting other people's, like you set the time. Like you're the one that sets the time. Okay, you're coming at this time and you're late, hour late, 2 hours late every single time. And a lot of the times she doesn't play like a full set. I've read up on stories where she'll do like a few songs and then walk.
Why you gotta dig up her dirt? It's not about Lauryn. This is about the legends.
Well,
even though you're right,
Lauryn wanted to make it about her. So, and when she says you're lucky that I make it on the stage every night, dog, you pay. Like these aren't free concerts. People are paying money to go to these concerts. So it's not where like she's not obligated. Yet she is obligated. You're paying money for a service or for a performance. You want to see the performance. Like that's not something that's out of the realm of possible. That's crazy to ask for. If you pay for something, you expect that thing. And if it was a few times, 1 or 2 times that she wasn't on time, she was a little late, it's fine. But it seems like I don't want to say she takes pride in it, but she's spiteful about it. In some of her recent features, she's brought it up. And it comes off.
What if in her mind, the price that you're paying doesn't necessarily justify like you being able to get me on time, right on time, front and center? What if what if they view it as like, okay, you paid to come see me and you'll come see me when I get there?
If she thinks that way, then it's bullshit, because if you think your time is that valuable, you could charge more. And again,
they don't necessarily have a one-to-one impact. I mean, decision on that, but I see your point.
I mean, I get she again, like she doesn't have the whole. She can't decide all the prices, but if you're accepting the price that people are charging, then don't complain about it. And if you think that you're justified to come whenever, then don't set a time that you're going to arrive at the concert. Like, how, if you're late every single time, how difficult is it to say this is a 10 p.m. concert instead of an 8 p.m. concert or something like that? Like, if you're consistently late, it becomes about just not respecting people versus something came up. So I'm not on her side, never be on her side.
Damn. Well, you're bringing up literal facts, by the way. About how it could damage the quality of the show, and how you are, paying for the service, and you should get that. When we talk about respect, in essence, we could ask like, who deserves more respect in this equation? The legend or the consumer? Like, I think y'all not putting respect. Our legends.
So because she's a legend, because she makes great music, that makes her better than other people.
I don't want to get that. I'm not saying that, but
more valuable.
I think that can be true. Not the thing that Ghost said, even though that is that really what it would.
Her time is more valuable than the hundreds of people. Like you know,
it's not even about that. Her time may be more valuable.
Don't repeat it back to me. Like, yes, certain people's time is more valuable. Is Jay-Z's time not more valuable than the
Sure, that's fine.
The consumer that goes and sees him.
If your time is that valuable, don't schedule a concert. If your time is that valuable that you can't show up on time, don't show up at all. Do the other stuff that makes your time so valuable. When you start charging people to attend your show and to watch you perform, that's a transaction that you signed off on. So once you do that, you can't flip it around and say, oh, my time is so valuable, and if I'm late, then you got to deal with it. Then just don't charge people. Is that simple? If you're so valuable, if you have so much stuff going on, then do that instead of charging for a concert that you're not going to show up on time, perform on time, and give people their money's worth. It's that simple.
We're also talking like the people she's talking to are her fans, like literally her fans. It's not like she's just saying this to.
Who seem to be on board, but how are you going to yourself the fact they weren't booing her? Let's just be clear.
So why is this a story? Everybody's on board, then
well, clearly not everyone's on board.
What are you talking about? Not everybody in that crowd was cheering. Yeah, I don't know. It's like you're reprimanding the people who are most your fans. They paid to see you. Like it's just yeah. You're making me mad at Lauryn Hill. Like, I don't know why we're doing this.
The problem is you guys are picking up the logical, like it's the transaction. You need to, provide the service that you say you're going to do. But I don't know why you guys aren't giving some grace. And again, we're honing in on Lauryn because she's
people that give her grace is why she continues to do this.
This is true. While she's probably one of the bigger offenders of this, take your favorite artist, just swap them in with this. And then is it going to still be an issue? Lie. Go on here and lie.
If my favorite artist does this consistently, right. Like again, I'm fine with the artist being late to a show every once in a while, as long as it's not a consistent thing. But if they always do it, hell yeah, I'm not going to their shows. Like,
man, I'm not wasting my time. This sound like cap.
It's not cap, dog. Are you? I'm telling you,
it's hard to not go to shows.
Flying Lotus was coming to some spot near me, and I knew his track record. I knew what he was known for. I would not go. I'm telling you, that's not cap. That's real. I would not go.
I just feel as if y'all don't really appreciate these artists. Then
you're telling me I don't appreciate dog. I go to more concerts than anyone here, so you don't tell me that I don't appreciate the artists.
That's what I'm saying, and they can't be a little late.
I didn't say that. Again, if it's a one-time thing, if it's not a consistent thing, I am okay with waiting. I'm not going to be super happy, but I'm not going to be pressed about it. Like if I show up at the show, it's supposed to start at 8. They start at 9:30 or something. I'm like, damn.
9:30 is wild. I was talking about like 10 minutes.
You know that she's known for coming like hours late.
Yeah, sometimes it really be like.
I mean, I've been at a couple concerts where the artist takes hour plus beyond where they.
What do? You just stand in the crowd and wait.
Basically, yep.
See, that's why I don't be
Yep.
going. That's why y'all better than me. If I'm in that crowd for an hour waiting for the artist, I'm leaving.
Who doesn't appreciate them? Yeah, but
uh,
again, if it's a one-time thing, it's a one-time thing. But if it's consistent, I'm not going. And if I do go and it happens and I hear this, I'm gonna be pissed.
For me, I think it was more the justification. Like, that's just the justification.
yeah, obviously at the end of the day, yeah, there's a lot of audacity, there's a lot of gall to try to justify this. And yeah, the only leg that I can see that they can stand on is, didn't you see the pain and passion in her voice? She's obviously a person that's been
If
through.
she's that passionate, then she'll show up earlier.
Man, she's been through the fire just like Kanye. Um, and I think that we should give her some grace.
No,
Or stop going
I
to
don't
it.
think she should get.
Or
Again,
stop going to
I'm
her
not. I'm
shows.
not trying to be insensitive because I know she's had a lot going on, and I'm
No,
sure
I'm
she
just
has.
I'm just joking at this point. Like I said, you guys are.
Passion made it worse for me.
Don't
It's like
charge.
it's almost
Don't
like a
charge
child
me.
trying to justify themselves. It's like, no, you're in the wrong. Why are you getting mad at other people? You're the problem.
I think that's what I kind of appreciate about this. I like a nice double down, like stand on it, stand on business, even when you're dead ass wrong. Salute to Lauren. Hey man, you get what you pay for. That's what I always say.
Unless you attend the Lauryn Hill concert.
But if there's nothing else, we can move on to, I believe, the last. Just be a little over 2. Okay. Yeah, just pull up this for now. There's one more thing with it, but just pull up this for now. So, where do we even start? So, last week I think I mentioned J. Cole did an interview. Like Mr. doesn't do any interviews. And I think I was actually gonna go on a bit of a side tangent / rant about artists and the fact they don't do interviews anymore. And I think that's contributed to like hip hop not being as exciting, but maybe I'll save that. I didn't. I think I had a point in my mind when I first started thinking about this, but I think I've forgotten or not really pressed about it anymore. But the moral of the story is J. Cole did an interview, not a traditional interview. He did an interview with Yachty, a little Yachty. I think Yachty might have a podcast or something to that effect. Maybe I'll just read some of this. But the moral of the story is J. Cole did an interview with Yachty. They had multiple discussions, surrounding hip hop and their views on things. Obviously, J. Cole is more of an older artist at this point, and Yachty's more of a younger artist, even though he's been in the game for a bit years. So, they had an interesting conversation. I say if you are interested in listening to podcasts and hip hop conversations, that would be worth listening to. Just search up J. Cole and Lil Yachty. I'm sure it'll come up. But in this interview, they talked about, a number of artists. Obviously, J. Cole was on Drake's album, so they talked about Drake. They talked about, the dynamic between younger artists and new artists. And one individual that came up is Soulja Boy. So let's see if the clip that they posted gets right down to the matter. I might have to scroll over one or two. Okay, let's start there.
Boy was first coming out. You gotta think my favorite rappers is Pop, Nas, Jay, Andre 3000, boom, 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 boom. This, the highest skill level, boom, boom. And I was kind of living a double life. I had like a rapper life, like where I had music friends in the city. There was a lot of them was older than me, like mentors. Then I had my real friends that I would be hanging out with. My real friends was playing 3 6 Mafia, Lil Jon when he came out. Whatever the fuck was popping, whatever new rendition of black culture was penetrating, like music coming up in the South, they was on. A lot of that shit for me, artistically, and what I stood for morally as an artist, I was conflicted because on one hand, we partying all the time to this music. But on the other hand, I'm like, man, this shit go against everything that I think that I am or who I had some fake morals about my.
Salute to Cole. Not to glaze or whatever the young boys say, but I think it would benefit him to do more content like this. And I remember when he did like his little interview with I believe it was Lil Pump. He also did content like this. But I think the way he speaks and like from his perspective, is super valuable. But like you were saying, like a part of being a consumer of hip hop or content in general is the fact that you might feel like compelled, or you might feel, especially if you enjoy like the skilled, the upper skilled artists of the whatever the craft or genre is, you might want to like morally think, okay, those are the top tier guys. Those are the guys that are my favorites. Those guys that I uphold the standard to. But in reality, the things that you'll more likely hear in like party environments or club environments or just more social outings is going to be more pop relationship to that. Let's see what else he has to say.
Think that I am or who I had some fake morals about myself, right? Around the time Soulja Boy came out, I don't know how this happened, but I had a realization within myself. Cause I'm hearing that shit and I'm like, man, this shit, Soulja Boy, tell him. It sounds crazy to say now because it's such a classic to me. But at that time, I had resistance, similar to when you came out and your class came out. I had resistance. Nah, that's not the thing that I love. Like, what? Y'all fucking with this? Like, I was one of them.
Yeah.
And it was literally a part of me that had a realization. I was young. I was proud of myself for this realization.
Yeah.
Because I was like, bruh, you a hater. Like, yo, you are literally hating.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally, you like this shit, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you done that.
Yeah.
So why would you front on this nigga like anywhere at any point?
Yes, if you're old enough to remember that initial Soulja Boy wave when everybody in your school was doing this, crank that. If you were a bit of a older kid or whatever the case may be, or maybe just a curmudgeon, you might have tried to hold reservations and think this is whack. Especially if at that time you actually did like some of the legends, the JCs, Lupe Fiasco's, even Kanye in that basket, Common, whoever else you want to put. Yeah, I definitely remember that era, and like there was definitely a divide of people that thought that it was whack and people that was downloading that on LimeWire, and it was the hottest thing. You would hear it every day. You hear that when you walk outside. Like, I vividly remember that. And so yeah, this sentiment that J. Cole described me is pretty relatable. I just remember it so very clearly. Is that the end of the interview? Was there more? Okay, so now the thing about this, J. Cole is just being earnest. He's talking about his relationship to trying to understand and not be as much of a critical hater when it comes to new artists and newer generation of music. It's interesting that he's, talking about this when, he's now in this day and age has songs with Yachty that, at one point in time, it might have has like a level of contention, which I think adds on to like just how dope like hip hop is, and like how people can have these honest conversations, and like you really just change your perspective. Not to say that over time the quality or perception of what we think is quality music changes or should change, but I think being able to appreciate like some of like every generation of music, I think that's it just makes music more enjoyable, at least in my opinion. Again, if you want to hold on to like the golden era 90s of hip hop, I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you have the blanket thing that there's no dope music coming out these days with some of these new artists, I think you're just like holding yourself back from that. When you talk about Soulja Boy, he's gonna respond. Salute to Soulja Boy. He hears everything. Not only is he the first rapper to do everything, he's the first one that's gonna hear what you said, and he's going to respond depending on whether he thinks what you said is disrespectful or not. So he caught wind of this. He responded to a post that said when J. Cole's in college, he hated Soulja Boy. J. Cole writes deep lyrics and thought Soulja Boy lyrics were trash, but at every party he'd be dancing to Soulja Boy's song with his friends. That's when he realized he was being a hater. And then he was obviously quoted saying, "What you'd be better off doing is showing love," or whatever he said. So Soulja Boy caught wind of this on Twitter, and he said, "N-words always hating on me, nothing new. Him and Big Sean was on some hating shit, but F them, I'm still lit." I don't know when Big Sean said anything about Soulja, but Soulja Boy gonna make sure he bunches everybody in the group. Let's see what else Big Soulja had to say. Soulja Boy posted a pic of J. Cole's age at the time of right now. J. Cole's 38, and he said, "Never mind, he got it 2 years away from 40 for sure." I don't know what J. Cole being almost 40 years of age has anything to do with it, but what else he had to say? I'm bossing up right now. I don't got time for certain ish anymore. But then he continued to go on and say, "Hey, bro, don't speak on me." And then he added J. Cole, "I'm not Lil Pump, Drake, or none of these rappers and words on God." And then we, I think, get to the verbal things that Soulja Boy had to get off his chest. Disclaimer: audio levels may be a bit high for this, so turn it down if you need to. And also, there might be some profanity, but if you know Big Soulja, you already know it's coming.
Watch them stinking ass dreads, nigga. Dreads look like they nigga smell like mildew, nigga. Nigga lame as fuck on it. I'm a hater. Man, shut the fuck up. Don't nobody give a fuck what you hating on. Don't nobody give a fuck about your music and opinion, nigga. Who the fuck is you, bitch? You ain't God, nigga. You don't run hip hop, nigga. Don't nobody give a fuck about your opinion, boy. Go sit your pussy ass down somewhere. All you fuck niggas, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, nigga, don't say nothing at all, nigga. Oh God, I do not know you niggas. I don't fuck with you niggas. I don't want to know you niggas. Don't speak on me, nigga. Fuck your opinion, nigga. You's a bitch. How about that? For a motherfucking opinion, you's a bitch, nigga. Now I knock your ass out, nigga. How about that, nigga? One-on-one, nigga, I'll beat your motherfucking ass, nigga. Nobody give a fuck about your pussy ass opinion, jit. That's what I'm saying, nigga. Y'all niggas lame as fuck, nigga. You, Big Sean, all you niggas that were hating on me, y'all niggas is hoes. I will knock y'all niggas teeth right out y'all fucking mouth, nigga. Oh, God.
Man, what did Big Sean do? I'm so confused. I guess to give some additional context, Soulja Boy's peace has been disturbed by a viral video of J. Cole admitting he used to hate on him, and now he is firing all the way back. During a recent interview on Lil Yachty's and Mitch's A Safe Place podcast. Okay, so if you were interested, that's the name of Yachty's podcast, A Safe Place podcast. J. Cole admitted he used to dislike J. Cole admitted he used to dislike Soulja Boy's 2007 hit single Crank That. Cole states that when Soulja's video for the song dropped, he wasn't impressed. Around the time Soulja Boy came out, I don't know how it happened, but I came to realization myself because I'm hearing this ish, and I'm like, man, this ish Soulja tell him sounds crazy now. That's such a classic. Yeah, all the things that Cole said. This is more reiteration. So yeah, I mean, this all really falls back to the older generation. Although, how old is Soulja? Soulja is not young anymore, but the older generation disliking the younger generation. It's just interesting that Cole is basically admitting that he used to be a hater, but then he came to a realization that it was hate, and he can appreciate some of this newer music, but it was a little too late, because again, if you even speak on it, Soulja's gonna take some little offense. I think there's actually more of it, but I think it's just more of the same of him with a lot of profanities and yelling into a selfie to his phone. So maybe we don't need all that. But I guess obviously there's not too much deep dive into this. It's really just what's happening in hip hop of the week. But yeah, what do we make of this back and forth? Do you think even though it's coming from a place of realization, do you think it's still a negative way to describe your relation as it pertains to a certain artist, and it maybe would have been better left unsaid? I guess basically, do you think what do you make of this beef, quote unquote, and do you think Soulja's feelings are justified in any of it? What do you think, Ace?
Yeah, Soulja Boy completely missed the point. It's not I don't consider this a beef at all, as far as it being two-way or two ways. It's just he completely missed the point. I was hoping, based on the tweets, that he was trolling, but now this video kind of makes it clear that
Soulja Boy is never trolling. Please don't even think that.
Yeah, no, he missed the point. I don't know what else to say. It's kind of ridiculous. Cole was basically praising him. At the end of the day, he was praising him. He acknowledged that he was being a hater and that he liked the music. So where is the hate?
Well, you gotta play Soulja Boy's double advocate. I mean, even though he is effectively saying that he used to be a hater, I think you could interpret that as, or view that as, he's kind of shining a light on like a sentiment that soldiers felt probably his entire career. Just like, yeah, I used to get mad hate. Some of that hate still lingers still today, and I don't necessarily appreciate people like bringing my name up and kind of making me that poster child of like, oh, when I was out and rapping, like, I was like the poster child of like what ruined hip hop. Like, I think that stigma is something he's kind of held on, or resentment for that stigma is something kind of held on for, and anyone even bringing it up is kind of like he feels a slight, if any of that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, and I guess it makes sense in terms of even myself. I would acknowledge it. So, yeah, for Soulja Boy to have to hear it repeatedly, I guess it could rub you the wrong way. I don't know.
But also keep in
There's
mind.
still just-
Sorry, go ahead.
There's no, I was just gonna say there still seems to be a maturity issue here. Like, he's got to be too old for this type of antics. Like, you got to be able to recognize at some point that the overall message isn't, especially if the overall message isn't negative. Like, it's actually acknowledging that your music was good. Like, regardless of, I mean, factually it's not as lyrical or whatever as Nas or these other artists that Cole named, but it was still good. Like, it's still something that he liked. So you still made good music, and that's something he's acknowledging.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's just a still like it's a lack of maturity.
I got you. I was gonna say, let me, and to be 100% clear, even in what I said, you do have to be like a high level, provide a high level of charitability, because at the end of the day, Soulja Boy could have just heard his name being brought up and heard hating, and he would have went off regardless, no matter what the moral of the story was or what the final outcome of the message would have been. But I guess that being said, what about you, Ghost? Do you think Soulja's in any way justified with some of the responses? And
I'm gonna go the other way from you, Ace. I think he is justified. Now, full disclosure, like I have trouble taking him seriously just because a lot of the stuff he does is I still can't get that Soulja console stuff out of my head.
I was about to say, remember when he was selling Soulja consoles?
Yeah,
remember when that headline/article came out that Soulja Boy is like the negative money, has negative money to a judge or something like that.
Yep, yeah, all that stuff is just floating around in the back of my head whenever I see him. But I guess, but that stuff aside, like he's right. J. Cole is on that. I mean, his point is kind of pointless. Like, we don't need to know that you hated on Soulja and then you change. I don't care, bro. Like, the point is kind of that you were hating in the first place. And to me, it's kind of like a backhanded compliment where he said that he thought it was trash, and that it feels like the way he said it is kind of like he had to dumb down his way of thinking in order to like it. And like, that's hating, bro. Like, even now that he's saying, oh, I'm not hate, that's hating. And you don't need to, it's just unnecessary. So I get why Soulja took offense to it. I low-key think that he's amplifying his reaction for clout, but like that on the base, if you don't got nothing good to say, like you just don't need to say it, to be honest. Like, that's, I don't know. It feels unnecessary, and I'm with Soulja on this one to an extent.
Man, y'all keep bringing up clout and trolling. I'm telling you, Big Draco, this him. Like,
well, I'm not
he might hear this podcast and come fire back at y'all the way y'all talking.
Hey, free publicity, but I mean, again, I don't know him. He might be 100% serious. It just, when you're continually harping on it, well, the comments, and then I don't know if he was on live and someone asked him about it, or if he just hopped on live to talk about this specifically. I don't know. He could be just 100%, can't even think of the damn word, 100% real about it.
Sincere?
And I don't know. Yeah, it just feels like if there's an opportunity to seize clout and get your name in the headlines, and he's right to be taking it, because again, J. Cole didn't have to say nothing. He could have just kept his mouth shut and not talked about it, but it just feels
it's part of the conversation. Like, I don't know what the context of the podcast was, but I'm sure he didn't just say it apropos of nothing. Like,
they're talking about they're talking about that dynamic between younger artists and older artists.
Exactly. So this feels like a very relevant contribution to that conversation, because that is a real thing.
To look at it from his side, though, like,
do you think he could have?
Like,
you think he could have illustrated this point? Sorry, Ghost. You think he could have illustrated this point without bringing up Soulja Boy?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, seems like there's been a history of him getting hated on by I don't know what Big Sean did.
I don't know what Big Sean did. He might have had a bar that says like I'm not Soulja, I'm Big Sean.
I don't
or something
know.
like
Big
that.
Sean shouldn't be talking, but it might be just like a history of people hating on him, and he just felt like enough is enough. And there's a whole bunch of trash rappers that you could bring up besides Soulja, and he might feel like he's being targeted, justifiably or not. So
in these conversations, the people.
Sorry, what was that, Ace?
Yeah, you cut out.
In these conversations, the people should never bring up the artist that they're thinking of.
I'm not saying that, and
you better just make sure you're careful who you bring up.
Yeah. Again, it seems like there's a history of, maybe Cole says something in the past, of Soulja specifically getting singled out. I mean, full disclosure, like, I think Soulja's trash. Like, this is probably a hot take, but
you're setting yourself up.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I think he's trash, but I mean, not as I don't know about him in person, but his music I think is trash. But
he gonna be right on the front of the camera,
there's a lot of
saying all these things about cheese. He gonna smack the fire out your mouth when he see you. I'm telling you.
I don't know. You can talk about me. I don't really care, but there's a lot of artists. Like, you could have brought up Lil B. You could have brought up. I don't need to get into David. All trash artists that are successful, but I don't know. I see why Soulja felt some type of way about it. Like, I get your point, Ace, in that if you're talking about something, it helps to have a specific example. And Cole, I think he probably didn't see nothing wrong with it, but I get why Soulja is pressed.
You know what's interesting? And I don't know. I mean, we're just talking, but for the sake, I don't know whose argument this helps or hurts. But the other thing about this is J. Cole got a history of this. Like, this like slick, but like trying to be sincere about like his relationship to newer artists. I remember, and this was back in like 2013 on his record of Illuminati, I think it was called. He had a bar about Trinidad James, if you remember Trinidad James.
Yep, I remember that. Yep,
it was something to the effect of like, my pops was club hopping when Rick James was out, and all I get is Trinidad James. Wait a minute, that's strange.
Yep, backhand. Yep.
So it's like J. Cole do got a little history of like, he's like he's acknowledging that the music that's coming out and go ahead.
So I was just gonna say it feels insincere, like it's not hating, but you didn't gotta say nothing. Like the whole little
feels insincere. Does that really? Are you?
Yeah. I mean, really? When I say insincere, like his condoning of the newer generation feels insincere, because he's like, in this, like he said,
because he does it a lot, or because of the sentiment.
But I don't know. I guess just because he doesn't vibe with it and he's trying to pretend that he does. But if you don't like it, stand on it. Like, don't come with this.
Maybe that's the thing, because I can 100% understand his stance. I had a very similar thing where I didn't want to acknowledge stuff that I like just because of a moral high ground that I had in my own mind. So maybe it's because I can completely understand what he's saying that I I I'm in agreement with the sentiment and also don't really see a problem with it. With a problem with speaking about it.
I guess it's just from him specifically. Like if Kendrick were to have said this, I wouldn't think of anything of it because it just doesn't feel like if you're gonna hate, then hate. Like don't
doesn't hate.
tiptoe around it.
Oh, he said he was hating.
Hey, well, yeah, he used
Well,
to.
he says
and
he's not hating now, but again, it just you're not. I don't know. Just be straight up. Like if
I don't. That's what I don't get. Like he's saying exactly how he. It's in context of talking about older artists and thinking about, or slandering newer artists or whatever. It's all. It's just like there's nothing fake about it to me. I don't see anything fake about it.
I mean, maybe he does legitimately feel this way, but it just feels like he's coming up. If he says that if he says anything about it, he needs to preface it with that was the past or this and that, and it just comes off like doing too much. Just if you like it, then say you like it. If you don't, say you don't. If you go through this whole long-winded thing about how he said it's legendary now. He didn't say he likes it, that he thought it was good. He just said that he was, I don't know, it just maybe I'm being a hater, but
yeah, that might be the moral of the story.
I don't see where J. Cole's coming from.
I kind of asked it earlier, Ace, but again, I think what could have changed the direction of this was like if you, and I don't want to ever control what somebody says, but like if you had made the point but not necessarily bring up specific examples, and or don't bring up examples of somebody that you don't necessarily have a relationship or have spoken to about these type of things, because again, if you already in your mind as Soulja have this idea that anytime people bring up this conversation, they're thinking about me as somebody that's like changed the direction of like hip hop and made it more like less lyrical and change and all that conversation. Even if the moral of the story is you do acknowledge it now looking back as like it was good and it was like super influential and it had its purpose of hip hop, I can still see how like you may not want to be brought up in that conversation. Again, especially if you don't have a relationship with that person or if you never talked about that with that person specifically. Like he mentioned, he had similar sentiment to Yachty, and obviously now that he's done records with Yachty and maybe he has a relationship with them, that seems more appropriate than opposed to you just like my name's not even. I don't like my name's not in the topic of conversation. It hasn't been the topic of conversation, but now you're just bringing me back into it. So now everybody's thinking about, oh yeah, remember when we all thought like Soulja Boy was whack? Like maybe it's not necessarily a sentiment that he wants to have even being brought up anymore. And yeah, and also I mean, I think we can all relate to it to a certain extent. Maybe not one to one with like. That's kind of interesting that you say that like, and I guess maybe I could relate to this a little, but I would never attribute something I didn't like to it be coming from like a moral position of like I think hip hop or I think a genre should only sound like this. So if it doesn't, I'm not gonna like it. I can't necessarily rationalize that. So maybe that's where I can kind of understand a point of like, is this truly sincere? Like, what does that really mean to have this moral?
Sincere. I know I expect it. So,
well,
I mean, it's not very difficult to explain because we were just talking about the YNW Melly and his lyrics. Like, it was that how did I say it? Like the mental gymnastics that you kind of have to go through to justify listening to certain things. And then not to say like it's not to say that
Are you saying that you and J. Cole are doing mental gymnastics?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, who's doing the mental gymnastics here?
Yeah. So if you think about like the negative lyrics in hip hop, that like it's very easy to, especially for somebody like me who didn't really get into hip hop until later. It's very easy to be like, oh, they're talking about all this and that. It's all negativity. Why would you listen to it? And so, from that standpoint, that's something where I had to like, kind of reform how I was thinking about the music that I was listening to.
But no, that I understand. But I feel that's just you're not privy to like the extent of like what hip hop exists, what hip hop can do for you, and things of that nature. I like it, but I don't want to acknowledge it because I have some moral disposition towards it.
No, you can, and I did still like the sound of it. It was just my mental, my moral standpoint about what was actually being said.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I don't know if I can fully rationalize. I'm trying to think. I liked something, but I didn't want to acknowledge it. That might be a little definition of hating. That's like kind of insane.
And I got a name I could throw, but I don't want to.
This is not a Yachty level.
I got hip hop and non-hip hop examples.
This is not a Yachty level podcast.
I kind of do want the examples now.
Who was it?
No, I'll say a great one, and one that's probably going to get a lot of flack right now is Carly Rae Jepsen.
Carly Rae Jepsen. Which one is that again? That's the
Call Me Maybe.
Call Me Maybe.
Yes.
We're talking about those records recently.
Yep. And actually, it's funny.
That record was a meme. I'll stand on it.
Yeah, but it's funny because I think you might have influenced my my position on it too. Like,
I did not. Don't bring me into this Carly, that little white girl.
Yes,
no,
you did. Because
it
wasn't. I don't know if it was for Carly Rae Jepsen specifically, but I remember having a conversation with you, and you were like, "Yeah, if a song gets stuck in your head, that probably means you like it." And like, there was a lot of songs that would get stuck in my head, but I would be like, it was like this moral thing. It was like, I don't want to like it, so I don't like it. But the more I just like stopped doing that and kind of acknowledged what I like and what I don't like, just purely based on my reaction to it, without like getting into all this deep, heady stuff about what the song is actually about. And not to say like there's still not some, processing of that.
Yeah.
It did a lot, like allow me to open up the different music I listen to and kind of just expand from the little pocket of whatever I was listening to at the time. So, but yeah.
No, you saying that makes 100% sense because just knowing you, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I can see that the type of music you listen to has definitely expanded throughout the years. Some genres that I'd be shocked at, and some songs that I'd be shocked, and some artists that I'd be shocked that you rock with and vibe with. And I actually do remember conversations like that. Again, we wasn't in the context of no Carly Rae Jepsen, or Repson, whatever her name is. But yeah, I understand. Who's the hip hop artist, or do you consider her hip hop adjacent?
No. I mean, yeah. To be honest, it was like it was Soulja Boy. To be honest, but
so you like Cranked It? So you like Cranked It?
Yeah.
Like Soulja Boy?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh my God.
I still I remember that whole time just as vividly as Quest. I remember seeing the music video, trying to do the dance. Like I remember all of that, but from that time, and now I can't put any names on it. What was that song? The ballin' one? I forget.
Jim Jones?
Yeah, Jim Jones.
Why did you hate on Jim Jones? That's like the most basic hip hop song ever.
Ballin'. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, who else? I can't think of names right now, but it was a lot from that era.
Are you gonna look back in 10 years and be like, "Damn, I was hating on Drake when I really liked him this whole time"?
No. The Drake hate is gonna stay forever. And to be honest, Well, no, yeah, I guess this type of thing could apply where it's like,
It definitely. Come on, Jake has some bangers. He's. I mean, he's a lot
but
of
the
shit.
difference I
But I
think is
think, but I
that I
think
like there
you
are
acknowledge the
Drake
Drake
songs I like.
bangers.
Yeah,
I remember. I don't know if you still like it, but you like the "Just Go Hold On, We're Going Home."
exactly, yeah. And even the album that he released that was like very atypical, was more
The house shit.
yeah. There was stuff off of there too. And his older stuff too as well. Like,
Facts.
so there's still Drake music that I acknowledge is good. So I don't. It's just it's just when he's like, I don't know,
Yeah,
when
no,
he's
I think
rapping like a young boy.
also the Joe Budden instance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, I actually 100% understand your POV now because yeah, I think people do not just with music, but with like certain things. Like I guess yeah, that is a good way to try. But people do like mental gymnastics, and they're like, yeah, I would never like something like this. In reality, they're bopping to it or vibing to it, or they enjoy it. So yeah, life definitely, in my opinion, is a little easier when you just try to go with the flow, and if you rock with it, you rock with it. Um, yeah, I mean, salute to Soulja. I think at the end of the day, he's gonna speak his mind, and I like a person that they're consistent. Soulja Boy is gonna tell you what he did first, and Soulja Boy is gonna respond if you bring up his name, even if it's the moral of the end, the moral story is love. If it sound like hate, is he's gonna respond. He's a very think first. I mean, speak first and update to this. Like the more like we've been keep talking about updates. We already have the update to this. Pull up that next link with it. Yeah, yes, indeed. Soulja Boy apologized to J. Cole after jumping to conclusions and dragging him, believing he was a hater. My bad, dog. Let's. I don't think he hopped on a live again. I think he just tweeted some tweets. Let's see what he had to say. Yes, Soulja Boy said, "Nicki just told me I took what he said wrong." Yeah, and we all believe he's referring to Nicki Minaj, so I guess he had to say to Nicki Minaj, and that he was showing love. So I'm gonna let it go. My bad, y'all. I really thought dude was hating on me. My bad, J. Cole. At J. Cole. Sorry for the conclusion. Keep doing your ish. We from two different worlds. I stand on what I stand on. What I stand on. It's hard coming from what I did, man. I dealt with a lot of hate my whole career, so it was just messed to think it was come from you. I think you meant to say messed up. But yeah. So yeah, just like that, he had a nice little change. Well, not necessarily he had a change of heart. It might have been somebody. Salute to Nicki.
Yeah, I know. It's not just like that. He had to have Nicki Minaj explain it.
Hey, listen? That's
He got a publicist something that could tell him how to read or listen.
Listen. I always say you gotta have real people in your community, in your circle, that can, be there for when you're wrong or when you're tweaking, and be like, dog, he was actually showing you love. Like, you don't have to really be all that pissed. So I mean, whether it came from Nicki or whether, he actually went back and listened to the entire thing, I'm not mad at him coming to a conclusion and apologizing. Did he actually say he apologized in all of this? Yeah, he said my bad. My bad, dog. So yeah, there you go. A happy ending. I know this really isn't a beef, quote unquote, but obviously in the day and age of hip hop where we are, this was considered a beef, but it came and went. So there you go. And maybe this will lead to a sit down between him and Cole, or a song between him and Cole, which I don't necessarily would look forward to, but Cole's been rapping really well these days, so at least his verse would probably be good. So yeah, all is well that ends well. Y'all both brought up some really good perspectives, and even if you disagree, I did find it entertaining. But if there's nothing else on this, we can wrap it up. I think that's all the topics. Oh man, let me go back to this, and I'll just leave it. Oh, actually, that one may have a name at the bottom. I guess I'll go to the, nice. I like how that's just there. Anyway, I guess before we wrap it up, is there anything that we want to get off our heart and chest? Anything that we missed or want to walk back, or anything not related to anything we talked about that we wanted to mention?
Nope. I think I'm good.
I feel as if this day and age, I always got something. It doesn't always have to be like a sad sentiment or whatever the case may be. Maybe a story that I've, or a rationalization, something I experienced throughout the week. But I don't have anything this week. But it was so daggone busy, and some things I actually did learn within myself that I've been processing. But obviously nothing that's interesting enough to share on a podcast platform. So yeah, I guess we're good on that end. And one other thing we like to do at the end of near the end of the podcast, we like to share something that we're all looking forward to, whether it be late, near in the future, or long term, because you know what they have to say about having something to look forward to.
Planning on taking the week off from some of my built up vacation time for, I think, the week after next week. So
Nice.
that should be good if I actually get to take it off. But
There might be a caveat to there, but yeah, obviously, one thing that literally everyone from our mothers to our grandmothers to young boys these days will express is use your vacation time. For one, you got it. I feel like this is where Wes would come in and say this, but you got to use your vacation time. They give it to you. Men is not designed or built to work nonstop. We definitely need our breaks. And sometimes it'd be like a little gradual thing that we don't even realize. Like I think I realized it like in the past 2 years, and I started to kind of take over this thing goes. But it's something I realized in like the past 2 years of like I don't super really need vacations or like time off, but there'd be some periods of my life where like after like weeks and weeks of nonstop like 5 to 6 days a week, my body and my mind would just be like, I could really use a day off. And then usually right around the corner is like a national holiday or a high holy day that actually get that day off. So, but yeah, the moral of the story is, yeah, I hope you do take that time, get that time, and enjoy it. How about you, Ace?
Yeah, I guess I'll just continue the sentiment. I've already said this, but travel or the flying out Monday, so
Wait, this Monday?
yep,
When are you coming back?
Friday.
Oh, okay. Because isn't there something going on next weekend? Anyway, yeah, nice. Dang. So you better come back with some stories, not necessarily for the podcast, but just in general. But if you do have anything to share, that'd be dope too. Anyway, and then for me, I'm kind of cheating, but you know, it's my podcast. The thing I'm looking forward to, or the thing that I was looking forward to, that actually come to place currently, just the fact that I'm able to pay off some of the loans and debts that I had. And I only say it like this because, like, obviously I could have said it back when I was starting to really work towards it. Obviously, y'all was working towards paying off things, but you know, actually like making some bigger steps towards doing it. Because you know, for some things in my life, especially when it pertains to finances, I like to kind of keep it a bit low key in the sense that, you know, don't ever speak too quickly about it because you never know what finances can change like just in the blink of an eye. But the fact that it's actually kind of coming to fruition, now it's like I was looking forward to it, and now it's like confirmed, like it's done. It's the done deal. So that's definitely what's been on my mind. But I digress. With that, you know, obviously salute to y'all. Thank you for coming out here and doing this podcast thing, and even doing all the nuances and in and outs of keeping up with the podcast, all the things that we do. And we all here are super grateful to any and all listeners. We greatly appreciate the support and just taking any level of time to listen to us. Because, again, who would ever even listen to us? Although we are like experts on everything, so. But we hope that by listening to this podcast, that, you know, you might have gained new perspective, or you might have learned something new, like the fact that if you are making your bed every day on the day, you have a literal more than double chance to become a millionaire. Even though most people barely reach the higher end of 5 figures in their lifetimes, but that's neither here nor there. Or we just hope that you find it entertaining. But if none of that happened for you, then all we have to say is be warned to be filled. Good night. All right. Stop recording. And yeah, recording is stopped and saved. So I guess with that, we'll just end the stream and send it off. I think in the future, if there is like audiences and things of that nature, maybe like after the recording, you can. Anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. We're talking out loud, as I like to say. Anyway, so I'm stopping the stream now. You can pull up the Spotify's.